Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I am here tonight making his debut on the Cult of Hockey.
Debut
on the Cult of Hockey. My longtime Oiler fan and great friend of mine, Scott Bolton. Scott, welcome to the Cult of Hockey podcast.
Thank you, Dave. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here.
Sure it is. I'm out on vacation and kind of a nothing game, but nonetheless, we're here tonight to talk Oilers. The Oilers get crushed 5-0. They get absolutely stomped by the LA Kings in this game. I know that the Oilers were theoretically in the running to get 2 more points and tie the Kings in the standings. But this game was not that. The Oilers clearly were sitting out a lot of key players, including Connor McDavid. And they were not, it's not fair to say they were not trying to win, but they were not geared up to win. They didn't put a lineup together. I mean, if they really wanted to win, McDavid would have been in the lineup, for instance, and that wasn't the case. It was a really rough night. Yeah. So what we're going to do tonight is our usual 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers podcast. And we're going to start it all off, Scott, with your good thing. What's your good thing tonight?
Well, that's a tough one for tonight, but I came up with the fact I don't think there were any injuries that came out of this game. So that's my positive.
So that is that's good. It's true. It seems like
it's a positive.
Usually there aren't. Usually they go games like weeks and there's no injuries. It's like now it just seems like every single game there's injuries. So I get that. Like it. That was actually the goal of the game, probably, right? That's why they didn't play McDavid.
That's right.
They didn't want to
calculated they aren't going to be able to catch LA.
So let me just check here. Let's just check and figure out who was missing from this game. So McDavid was missing. Draisaitl was missing, and we'll go through. We'll go through when they're expected back. McDavid, he's not hurt, so he's expected back. Hyman, expected back for Game 1. Evander Kane was missing, expected back early in the playoffs. Trent Frederick, expected back early in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Leon Draisaitl, expected back Game 1. Matthias Ekholm, expected back possibly after Round 1. Jake Wallman, expected back for Game 1. Troy Stecher, expected back I think, for Game 1. And John Klingberg expected back early in the playoffs. So I can see why you're picking that Rock. Like it's his nickname is Rock. I can see why you're picking that because like that is a long list. I'll tell you what. When I heard Matthias Ekholm was hurt, I was upset.
Well, I was with you. And I was equally upset, Dave.
Yeah, we were two
serious
butthurt Oiler fans sitting hearing this news, and it's a couple days old now, and it's gotten a little better, and that they're saying he might be back for Round 1, but that is not good. It is not even close to good, and the only good news is Jake Wallman has been traded for. Darnell Nurse is playing well. Tonight's game accepted the exception, and so, they will have. Last year they had, I think, two really strong defensemen in the playoffs in Ekholm and Bouchard, and Kulak also played well.
Yeah, he did.
This year in theory they might have Nurse, Wallman, and Bouchard and Kulak. So they actually could have a better defense even if Ekholm's out than they had last year. So that's the bright side of that as far as I can see. My good thing tonight is Victor Arvidsson. So he was the key trade. They essentially decided to go with Arvidsson over Warren Foegele this year, and it's a hugely controversial decision. But it was done last year after Arvidsson really buzzed the Oilers in the playoffs. Did you like it at the time? I did. I thought that was a good move.
I did for just that reason. Playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, and he played well tonight. Yeah, I agree.
So I thought he was Edmonton's best forward.
Yeah.
He got Edmonton didn't get a grade A shot until 13 minutes into the game, and it came on an outside shot that was actually deflected on the Kings' net. He got a 5 alarm shot a moment later off an LA turnover, and he in the third period actually I thought the best play the Oilers made all night. Janmark won the puck on the boards. He got it to Arvidsson, who put it right across, seam pass over to Connor Brown, and Brown got a great shot on net, a one-timer, and they almost scored early in the third, but not to be. So there was lots of good happening with him, and this is a really good signal to me because he struggled all year long, and he looks like he's bringing his A game for the playoffs.
He's been better lately, right?
I think so. Yeah. I think he has. All right.
Great.
By the way, the grade A shots in this game were in total 16-6 for the LA Kings, with the subset of 5 alarm shots. Grade A shots go in about 20% of the time, plus 5 alarm shots 33% of the time, plus 10-3 for Los Angeles. So our bad thing isn't going to be the goalie Calvin Pickard. I don't think he was okay-ish. I thought maybe that first goal he could have done better on.
Yeah.
Rock, what is your bad thing?
Well, there's no point picking on a particular play or a goal. I think it's Nurse and whether he's going to get suspended. How serious will the league look at that?
What did you think of that? What did you think of that cross-check?
I wish the second shot hadn't happened at the back of the head. It's probably going to warrant a suspension.
How long? What do you think?
1 game. I say 1. End of the season, he'll be back to the playoffs, but there's a risk here.
So I apply when I see plays like that, because I'm an Oiler partisan, like I'm a fan. I read as a fan. And when I see plays like that, I like them because I don't like the opposition. So just wait. I do not like the LA Kings. I actively dislike and I don't want to see players get hurt.
Right.
But I do like to see the Oilers roughing up the LA Kings stars, because that's when the Oilers play. Talked about this in the past. Ever since Mikey Anderson took down Leon Draisaitl with that absolutely dirty play, it's like the gloves are off against the LA Kings, and as far as I'm concerned, turnabout is fair play, and you can go after the LA Kings, and I liked that about Darnell Nurse on that play. But listen, I try to calm down, and I apply what I call the McDavid rule, which is, if that happened to Connor McDavid, how would I react? What would be my take? And if that happened to Connor McDavid, I'd be calling for a 3-game suspension, because I would be so mad that happened that I would say, listen, it was an intent to injure. He cross-checked his head right into the ice, it was a very dangerous play.
His hit not into the ice. I don't think the head. He clearly cross-checked him in the back, but his face didn't hit the ice.
I don't like. So this is why I think that I'm also going to go 1 game.
Okay.
Because I don't think he actually drove his head into the ice.
Yeah,
he cross-checked his head, and his head went down, and kind of the helmet might have banged the ice, but so it wasn't like a cross-check of the head into the ice. So that's why I think a Nurse is going to get away with 1 game. I do think there'll be a game suspension. If they suspend him for the first game of the playoffs,
that would be inappropriate. But you know what? You're rolling the dice now. It's out of our hands. But I like your point about playing tough and showing some sandpaper and setting the tone for this series coming up.
All right, we are now on to our numbers. Scott, what is your numero?
99.
Okay, why 99?
Well, because we were talking about whether, getting 100 points matters psychologically. Going in, they've been, forget how many, last 3 years, over 100. Yeah, last 100 points.
So
now,
points.
Let's say, okay, we wind up at 99. Does that matter? And
what do you think?
My answer is no. And if you look at the history of the Oilers going back to our era, call it the 1980s.
2 bald guys?
Well, we didn't, and we checked, but the 80s, the 4th Cup, they did not get 100 points that year. Gretzky's last Cup.
And that surprised me. 87, 88, they got 99 points.
99 points.
That was a good omen. And 99, another good omen.
Yes, and well,
They're not there.
depending how
Maybe
you
they'll
look
get
at it
101
these
though.
days.
They might get 101.
Well, that's okay. 101 is.
We'll
you
take
know,
99
we'll take,
as always.
We'll take
Brock,
99 as.
we will
yes,
take 99 as always a good omen. On this podcast,
I did not deface the.
We
statue.
do not say bad things about Wayne Gretzky on this podcast.
Okay. Listen, you know me. I love him, but still, it's a little political. Okay.
It is a little political. Yeah. All right. It is a good omen, though, right?
Yeah. And then you pointed out that the fifth cup, they were
90 points.
90 points.
Yeah.
And then 2005, 06, 95 points.
Yeah. So essentially, 2 years they won the cup, and they didn't have a ton of points. Now, there were no loser points back in that era. So they would have had more points.
Yeah.
Certainly in 87, 88.
Right.
They probably would have had, let's say 105 points. But in 89, 90, they only had 90 points. So they probably wouldn't have had 99 points. They would have had fewer.
But look at the other thing. In 87, 88, the Flames were first. They were second. So again, the home ice thing, you'd love to have home ice, but it's not the end of the world.
I mean, to me, the Oilers will win the cup if two things happen. If they are healthy. If the Oilers are healthy, they will win the cup. Sure. They're not healthy. That is now out the window because Matthias Ekholm, probably maybe their best defenseman, is not going to be playing in these playoffs. So they are not healthy, and that is a massive concern. But I think they can survive one major injury to their defense because they brought in Wallman, which was turning out to be that's huge.
That was
if everyone else is healthy, and if Kane comes back, and Frederick comes back, and Draisaitl's good, and McDavid's good, McDavid's been playing really well. They're okay. And if they play championship defense, and tonight they did not come close to playing championship defense. And did I skip over my bad thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I did. All right.
Yeah.
Let's get to that.
That was bad.
Sorry.
Maybe you already.
We're a little all right. I skipped over my bad thing, which was the Oilers. Because in some ways the PK was like when they did the 5-on-3, they killed that off extremely well. Yeah. They were strong. But otherwise, the first power play goal by the Kings was a gong show by the Oilers. First, Darnell Nurse loses the puck behind the net. Then Josh Brown is unable to contain the Kings forward coming out from the corner into the middle of the ice. The puck kind of skitters back to the blue line, and Podkolzin can't block the shot. Up until now, there's not a whole lot terrible has happened. But what happens next is that there's a shot at ricochets off the boards, and both Nurse and Calvin Pickard are slow to react. Pickard's slow to get back to his post, and Nurse is slow to cover. And that was the only one. That was the one goal that I thought Calvin Pickard really needed to make a save.
The first goal you're talking.
You're
talking about the first goal.
Yeah, the first goal.
What about the second goal?
The second goal was Podkolzin gets drawn out of position to the boards. He's chasing too hard, and he gets pulled to the side. And then when the puck goes back to the point, Kapanen can't block it. So Podkolzin is slow to getting back to his man in the high slot, who tips it, and Pickard. I think that's a really tough play for the goalie, and some people will judge him for that, but it's actually very similar on the third power play goal that the Kings had. Nugent Hopkins starts running around, and he's all over the place. And when it's time to cut out the cross seam pass over to, I believe it was Kempe who scored that, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was Fiala. We don't know. Anyway, the LA Kings sniper, we'll call it. Yeah. Nugent Hopkins isn't there. And, again, like they're trying to do too much because they need to do too much because they're playing a superior team without all of their top players.
Were you talking about Kempe, or am I thinking of another one?
This one I think was actually the third power play goal was it was the one-timer, and I think it was Kempe, but it might have been Fiala. Yeah. Anyway, it was a hell of a shot. And not much chance, but Nuge has got he can't be drawn out of position on that cross seam pass. All right, my number, Rock, is 26. When Bobby Orr was 26, turning 27 that year, that was his last really great year as an NHLer.
That's amazing.
And I think he'd won a couple cups by then, if I'm not mistaken. It was two.
2 cups.
And
Should have won more.
what concerns me is McDavid is now 28. Leon Draisaitl's 29. And this is such a big year for the Oilers, because players only get, historically you turn 30 and your production starts dropping. You generally move past your peak years as a player. Right. Now some players can extend that. They can have peak or near peak years, 31, 32, 33, 34 even. And we might see that, but the salary cap is in the Oilers' favor. Draisaitl's not getting paid much. Bouchard's not getting paid much. So there's a lot riding on this year. And as I say, I think the Oilers can do it. And what I'm hoping to see is McDavid and Draisaitl take over in the playoffs and play two-way hockey, defensive hockey and offensive hockey like they've never been able to do before in the playoffs, and absolutely dominate and take this team to the Stanley Cup on the strength of that. And that is what I expect to happen. But it's most of these, like Gretzky didn't win a Stanley Cup past the age of I don't know how old was he?
Probably
27?
27, I think. Yeah.
So it's worrisome. I'm worried about that. Are you? Does that bother you at all?
Well, I mean, there's a limited amount of time here. The window's only going to be open for so long. And, ultimately, their chance comes from those two guys staying healthy. And I like the fact they haven't played much towards the end of the year, because this, they're really gearing themselves up for, a long run and staying healthy right to the final. And so,
do you think they're the favorite? You've watched this team all these years. Do you think, you've seen them win Stanley Cups? What's your sense of this team in terms of being in the position to win the Stanley Cup?
Well, trying to be listen, I'm a fan, so I'll say yes as a fan, but objectively, no, you can't have them as the favorite going into the playoffs. Is there a favorite, really? I mean, there's so many good teams.
That's
6, 7, 8 legitimate teams that could realistically win the cup, but they're in that mix. And I got to say they're in the top 3 or 4 simply because of their experience and the fact they got the 2 best players in the league on earth on the team.
That is a good way to frame it, actually, because when you said when I was asking you, are they the favorite, I'm thinking, geez, I don't know if they are. But when you look at it, who is the favorite? There's Washington, Tampa, Toronto, Florida, of course. Yeah. There's Dallas. There's Colorado. There's Las Vegas. There's almost like there's 8 teams, and they've all got 12% chance of winning the Stanley Cup. Yeah. And then does that leave 4% over? I'm exposing my math skills here, but I think 4% would be left for all the other teams. But
yeah, well, that's very good math. You're right.
It is.
8 times 12 is 96.
I know, like times tables. Yeah.
You and I went to school together.
We did. And that's how I see it. There's about 8 teams, and they each have about 12% chance. And at this point, if Ekholm hadn't gotten hurt, if he came back strong, I'd be a lot more. I would say the Oilers are the favorite. But this is, I've been saying for about a month now. I've been saying all year, they've got to stay healthy. And
we have to mention goaltending, though, don't we, in the discussion? Like, where do you?
Well, where do you put it? What do you think?
Well, that's my concern. I mean, is Skinner going to be healthy?
Yeah.
Or in game shape, let alone, and where's his confidence level? I mean, it's got to be Skinner.
Yeah, it's got to be Skinner, and he's gotten hot in the past, and he can get hot. Yeah. I'm actually more confident than I was at the trade deadline. At the trade deadline, I was down in the dumps, and I thought the Oilers needed to get a goalie. But now, with the way Calvin Pickard's played, I think if Skinner wobbles, like last year, I was thinking you can't put in Calvin Pickard, and they did, and it worked. This year, I'm thinking if Skinner wobbles, put in Calvin Pickard. He can win you a game or 2.
But Skinner has to be the horse. Right.
Skinner has to be the horse. I agree, or they're not going to win the cup. Yeah. But I think he can be. So every team's got flaws. This is their flaw.
Yeah.
But I think they can get by it. Alrighty. Well, we're going to wrap it up there. It was, there's not a lot to say about that game, given how hideous it was and ultimately meaningless. So we'll leave it there.
Yeah.
Scott, thanks for talking tonight.
Thank you for having me on.
You are welcome.
Honor.
And in the meantime, and in between times, and until we meet again, Bruce McCurdy, now in the halls of our fathers, having a beer with the hockey gourds. This has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.